In this video, I'm going to talk with you a little bit about why we want to have a website, what are the benefits, and what some of the best choices are today. And so we may refer back to this often, but I already have these solutions keyed up, and I'm just going to walk through them in kind of a random way and give you a perspective from simplest and most basic to most complex. First of all, the benefits. If the primary purpose of having a website is for you to build your brand, you need to have a searchable home base where people can get social proof of whatever it is that you're pushing, an idea, a product, a service, whatever. Second, you need a place over which you have ultimate control, a domain name that's attached to a website that no one can change without your permission. No one can add uh, an advertisement to without your permission, that no one, it's your own, okay? No one's going to change the timeline. No one's going to change the look and feel. No one's going to change how it works. No one's going to keep your data. That's what I mean by control. Ideally, it's going to have search engine optimization and search engine marketing benefits. And it's also going to have an RSS feed, which is going to make it easier to publish to other platforms. So we're going to focus in on a couple of different tools, starting with the simplest, which is RebelMouse, taking a quick look at a tool called Weebly, and then focus on some more standard names that you may have heard, like Tumblr, Blogger, and then 3 different variations of WordPress. Not going to cover Drupal, not going to cover Joomla. I'm primarily focused on content marketing systems or blogs. In this particular scenario. So without further eloquence, let me switch over to the most basic tool. And this is something that is so basic, I highly recommend that everyone have one of these pages, and you're going to see why a little bit later on. But one of the cool things about RebelMouse is that it does give me, first of all, it's a freemium tool, and it does give me the ability to add content sources from my existing social media platforms. So I can go in and I can enter my Twitter feed, my Facebook profile, Instagram, Google+, LinkedIn, YouTube, Tumblr, and RSS feeds, Pinterest, etc. This is one of the few tools also that I've seen that has the ability to actually get content out of Pinterest. If you're a big Pinterest user, that alone would be an interesting use for this particular tool. Now what I do is I can go in and I can change some of the design, but the most critical thing is that I can actually embed this content in other websites and use it to generate some more interesting content. Another plus is that it does point people to um, my different social media outposts, and it does automatically produce an electronic newsletter that goes out every day with the latest content you've posted. So RebelMouse is one of those simply powerful tools that I strongly recommend that everyone use. On the downside, it's not searchable. It's not searchable. For $10 a month, you can add the pro features, and you can actually you can link this to a domain, and then it would have search engine optimization value. But again, only shortcoming that I see with this product, actually two. It's not searchable, and it doesn't produce an RSS feed. It captures them, but doesn't produce them. So the next thing that I'm going to show you is Weebly. Now, Weebly, of all these tools, is one that I'm least familiar with. It is a freemium tool. It does give you some pretty cool design capabilities. If I go into Weebly and log in, then I've got some pretty sophisticated design tools that I can use. It allows me to pick a theme and do, basically drag and drop design, which is something that really no other platform that I've seen has, with the exception of the high-end version of WordPress. And what I'm able to do is go and create pages, drag and drop different content that I want. On the blog, I actually have to go in and when I create a new post, I can drag and drop all these different elements in. It's really quite cool. When it comes to, I can have stores, which I can't always get on some of the other platforms. And I get robust statistics, etc., etc., etc. In order to map my own domain, I have to upgrade. And it's $3.29 a month to use the starter package, which allows me to map my domain, all the way up to $20 a month for the business version, which includes fully integrated e-commerce and so forth. This might be a good route for some people to go. I'm not familiar with the SEO value of Weebly, but it does give you the ability to do some limited content management. I just want to throw it in there. I don't use it myself, I just played with it. The next one is one of my favorites. It's Tumblr. And it's the favorite of a lot of other people, especially the younger generation, the millennials that are coming up. They're leaving Facebook to be able to participate in Tumblr. The only, on the plus side, it's free. I can map a domain to it for free. I can get just about any content that I want into it for free. But on the downside, from what I've seen, it's very difficult to get any search engine optimization value out of it. So it may have a place in your arsenal as I use it to actually feed my other social media content. Because, like for example, if I go to one of my favorite sites, which is Pixie, spelled P-I-C-C-S-Y, and I go to the topography section, and I'm going to find something profound. Okay, and notice here that there is a button that allows me to quickly and easily share, and I'm going to put this caption in here. Again, not particularly hard-hitting journalism, but that's not what you use Tumblr for. And I'm going to create that post. And when I go back and refresh my screen, there is the image. Now, one of the things that I like about Tumblr if I go into my dashboard and edit my theme, I have picked a very nice theme by, okay, not going in. I picked a very nice theme by Pixel Union, which allows me to set the width of my image to maximum, which in this case is 700 pixels. So this may, like serve as good enough for someone who's looking to add blogging capability to a website. However, the problem or a problem with this, and sorry, let me get back to where I was, is again, the SEO value. So does it allow you to quickly and easily add content? Absolutely. Does it support iframes? Like for example, I can take, again, my RebelMouse content and I can bring it into this page. I can use this as a tool, and notice my my content is already in my RebelMouse page. Here are links to all of my other social media. So if you're just looking for a simple blogging tool, this might be it. Tumblr is heavily into though media and not so much text other than quotes or quick quips. And again, very light on SEO value. Moving on up the scale, Blogger is a tool that's very intriguing to me right now because it's owned by Google. And the only thing that Google can fully index is something that Google fully owns. So theoretically, there is a great benefit to having your content on Google+. One of the things that is quite interesting to me, and let me just refresh this page. I do have full JavaScript and iframe support. I can do e-commerce on a Blogger blog, which is not possible. It's also possible on Tumblr, but it's not possible on WordPresscom, the free hosted version, unless you pay WordPresscom $300 a year, and still then you are limited. So here's my RebelMouse page inside of Blogger. I can do that quite well. Here's another thing that's kind of interesting. This is an Amazon.com store inside of Blogger. Again, this is supported by an iframe. And then I have a connect page, which is simply a Google Drive form, which would drop content into my Google Drive. On the downside, Blogger is kind of limited from a design perspective. It's not quite as robust, it's simpler, but on the plus side, one of the things that is really interesting, if I do a new post, pretty simple and straightforward. And I'm just going to go and grab an image. And this is kind of a nifty thing. I can actually reach into the content on my phone, and I can say I want this centered and I want it extra large. And here is the HTML. If I go into Compose, then I'm going to see that I have you know, the capability to grab content off of my phone or whatever. And I'm not, yes, I am going to post this, and I'll show you why in just a second. Okay, so I can take a look at this and test it and see whether or not, you know, it looks okay. Now, when I go back and I click publish, this is to me one of the most compelling reasons why I would want to use this tool, is because this tool prompts me to share my content on Google+, which is one of the single most important things that I can do to promote my content. So I go in and put a title, and I can put in hashtags. This added extra value that comes from the integration of Blogger and Google+ makes this to me one of the most interesting solutions to keep an eye on right now. I'm going to cancel this and delete it and move on from there. That's Blogger, a deceptively simple, minimalist looking tool that has incredible Google+ powers. Moving on, this is WordPress.com. WordPress.com is very interesting, but it's also deceptively limited. If I go into my dashboard, WordPress by itself is very limited, but there are many different options that I can add that range in price from registering a domain for $5 to WordPress.com Enterprise for $500 a month. So the thing, though, that bothers me is that almost everything that I want to do, like have a site redirect, have map a domain, block ads, you know, whatever, all of these different things are an upcharge. None of the other tools that I've mentioned up until this point have an upcharge. Now, with this tool, I get, you know, all kinds of benefits, but I also get all kinds of limitations. I am limited to, and this is very important, I'm limited to any one of the 300 or so themes that they allow me to use, and about a third of those are premium themes with a price tag. That's number one. Number two, I cannot add plugins. I cannot add JavaScript. I cannot add iframes. I cannot advertise. And I can't do e-commerce unless I am paying $300 per year. At that point, I might as well graduate to the self-hosted version of WordPress, over which I have complete control. So, in the same way, you know, like WordPress.com is a gateway blogging tool that's heavily geared toward upselling in the WordPress space. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I love there's a very nifty social layer inside of WordPresscom that's not available inside of WordPress.org, the self-hosted version. And that again is like another source of annoyance to me, because I like that social layer. Okay. In the self-hosted version, I can add JavaScript, I can add iframes. Here's another place where my RebelMouse page appears. And I can add any plugin I want. I can add any premium theme that I want. I can do almost anything that I want. So you go from WordPress.com, where you're extremely limited, to WordPress.org, where you can do anything as long as you have a hosting plan. Very important to find a good WordPress.com host, especially if you have a lot of traffic. I use WP Engine. Be happy to tell you why if you connect with me on social media. And there we go. That's WordPress.com. Makes a great business website, highly optimized for search engine optimization. Probably the sweet spot on the high end. The last thing that I just want to show you real quickly is for companies that actually need to have multiple websites. And this is a new project. It's not public right now. But I just wanted to show you that there is a version of WordPress called WordPress Multi-Site that allows you to manage multiple sites from one position. So I can have a root site, and then I can have child sites, and I can monitor them and admin them all from one location, but each one can have its own domain and its own look and feel. So hopefully that will help you in your quest to find the perfect blogging platform. I speak multiple blogging platforms pretty fluently. So if you have any questions or feedback, please let me know. I'd be happy to discuss your particular situation with you in more detail.